Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back to your home for Deadlock News, Deadlock Weekly. In any secret project, whether that be movies or a pro sports team or an in-development video game, when one thing leaks, that can start a chain reaction. We've had 6 or 7 chain reactions this week, and this is our biggest one yet. So we're going to dive deep into every single thing that leaked this week, as well as all of our normal weekly items. And of course, we're going to finish off with your comments. So if you want to stay in the loop with all things Deadlock, this is the place to do it. So guys, there is a ton that is leaked this week, and we are going to have to get through a ton of information here. So normally we do a lot of like source checking and stuff like that. I've done all that ahead of time this week. Just know, obviously guys, things with leaks, they can change, but I'm very confident in what we're going to talk about here today. And we're obviously going to be taking a look at screenshots as those become relevant to what we're talking about. So the number one thing is the base. Both teams are going to be getting new identities that sum up their sides of the map's aesthetic, and that is at the core in the base. The two identities are going to be Eldritch Foresty versus kind of a steampunk gothic is the description the two sides have been used, and possible, team names to sum up that vibe. One team is going to be based around a steampunk candle wax factory type of vibe, very production based, while the other side of the map is going to be much more kind of Eldritch Foresty and magical, and it's possibly going to be linked to the upcoming druid character that we talked about a few weeks ago, although that character is still well away from making it onto our client. And then the big kahuna of the week, we actually got a screenshot of the Eldritch Foresty side of the base, which obviously, look at it. This room looks incredible. And it looks like there's going to be some new logos and some new UI for the heroes up top. And as we dive into the screenshot, we can see the patron standing there as well. He's no longer this kind of ominous floating head, which I love. One of the only things this game is actually lacking, in my opinion, is an engaging base siege mechanic. And so hopefully this new base provides that in one way or another. We don't really have any details on how the patron actually fights, unfortunately, yet, but it looks like it's certainly going to be a little bit more active than it was in its prior, or rather its current kind of floating head iteration. And what's also interesting is that there are now 2 distinct exits from the base. We had heard prior that the devs were testing with multiple exits. Last I had heard that they were testing 3 exits. Because there are 2 shops you can see in the back there, I have to assume that they are completely separate, or, it's a very choice to go to which one, because they wouldn't have the shop there they wouldn't have the shop there in one and not the other, unless you could easily get between the 2 of them. So I'm not sure how much more engaging that'll actually make the endgame fights, which side you can come out of. So I have to imagine that there are also some pretty major gameplay features that change how the endgame fights work that makes the entry points for the defenders significant. And then at the very bottom of this image, right at the edge of the platform that Mirage is standing on, you can see the very tops of windmills, and these are shrines. There was a model months ago that people had dug up that had these shrines in there. And one thing that I really haven't seen too many people mention yet, guys, is that I think it's very interesting that this is only one half of the base revamp. The other base also got revamped to its own team identity, and we just haven't gotten to see that yet, and I am so curious to see what they both look like. And then speaking of changes, guys, we all know how recently on Yellow Lane there is a new bank area, which is behind the walker, which if you haven't been there, I actually only have found myself in gameplay behind there a few times, but it is such a cool area that you just so rarely go. And on the other side of the map, we now also know that there is an asylum area that will be in that is in development and will be on the opposite part behind the green walker on the opposite side of the map to counteract the bank behind the yellow walker. Then guys, the troopers are also going to be differentiated slightly from each other. Didn't get any further info on that, but it's also not going to be a significant change. Maybe that comes down to like a spectator thing where it's like currently, you have the sapphire and the amber minions when you're watching a spectator game. And so maybe that's to differentiate that, because I have to assume that when the team identities change, they're also not going to use the sapphire and amber in the spectator mode. So perhaps that's to make your life a little bit easier as a spectator. And then guys, another big kahuna that dropped last night was this Yamato model that leaked late last night. And I can confirm that this is a real in-dev model for Yamato and not a fan-made mod, but it is still in development. These things can change, but I think I'm just gonna buy a skin for Yamato day one. This one is it's not for me. I think it looks cool, and it's a definite upgrade from her current look, but her coat just feels way too big, and her hat, it's the same story, Cad Bane vibes for me. So either way, very cool. But hopefully we don't have Neon Prime Yamato for too much longer. Yeah, just not quite my thing. But I think it's certainly a lot better than Neon Prime Yamato. And if you're curious why I said Neon Prime a million times and why Yamato looks so out of place, it's because her model is from a prior version of Deadlock, which was under the code name Neon Prime. When it was being developed over COVID, it had a separate art style and theme, and it was a cyberpunk-esque theme as opposed to our current occult alternate reality theme that we know and love today. And that game went under the name Neon Prime, but was very similar to the Deadlock that we ultimately got like a year ago now. And I think it's just Yamato, Grey Talon, and Bebop are the only heroes that still have their Neon Prime models, if I'm not mistaken. But tell me if I did miss somebody, so let me know down below. But yeah, there's still a few carryovers from Neon Prime that they are finishing up sorting out, and Yamato looks like she could be next on the list. Then, guys, we have been circling the Venator drain for months now, and we finally got a look at a Venator model, which this is a work in progress, unfinished model, and I've been told it's also an old screenshot. So honestly, guys, I don't think there's a ton to go off here. He could be completely different right now. He is clearly missing a ton of detail. So how old this screenshot is, it's anyone's guess, and when he comes to the game, at this point, it's anyone's guess. But I'm right with all of you guys in hoping that we see Venator very, very soon. I cannot wait for this guy to get into the game. And the story with Venator is that he was near completion for the recent 6 Heroes update. If you look at the major update video that I put out right before that, I actually predicted that he would be in the update, and we thought he would be, but due to him just being too strong from what we've heard, Valve delayed him to be reworked because he was just dominating lobbies. And the descriptors that they've chosen for him are just, they've been more than intriguing to me. Punisher, arms expert, anti-tank. I cannot wait to get my hands on this guy. And then, guys, I've got some big updates on the ARAM mode that's been in development as well, or should I say ARAM modes, plural, under the name Street Brawl. The first ARAM queue is an ultra-casual roguelite version where you get random items from a loot table, and you get to pick up which ones you want as the game develops. I am going to be crushing that as somebody who's been crushing a lot of Megabonk recently. And then there's going to be the regular ARAM mode, which is what we've been talking about for the past couple of weeks, where you have set souls and you can upgrade your items over time. And that mode is going to be a best of 5 round-based game mode. Each round, you get a set amount of souls to spend. Kill the Guardian to win a round, and round 5 tiebreaker, if it gets to that, it has 2 Guardians to attack. And so who knows when ARAM mode is going to get released, but it's being actively patched. It's been patched multiple times in the past week, which that also, I just realized, might be confusing as well when I say it's been patched multiple times in the past week, and you're going, it hasn't been patched in my game. What are you talking about? If you don't know, there is a very, very small group of players that is included in a much smaller playtest than the one that we are taking part of in our main client. As far as we can tell, it's maybe a few dozen people who have access to a client that is much, much further along in development, to the tune of probably 1 to 4 months further along in development than what we ultimately are playing as Deadlock and talking about here on Deadlock Weekly. And really, since the spring, for about the past 6 months now, there have been people in that private playtest who have been leaking things to various other members of the community that then gets reported, and that's how we wind up talking about it here on Deadlock Weekly. It's a playtest within the playtest, Jerry. Then, guys, there were some rumblings as well this week about a Magician and Viper remodel incoming soon, but I have been told that that is not the case, and do not expect a Magician and Viper rework incoming. Then, guys, something that we don't normally get when leaks like this come out is that there was actually a lot of drama about the leakers and their sources this week, so let me know if you want to hear more about that, and I can maybe make a video or something. Maybe we talk about that next week a little bit. But as we dive into our Winrates Weekly, Victor has separated himself a little bit from last week from Paige, and it's no secret as to why, although I do find it surprising the page is still up on here. People are really coming online with that character, but yeah, Victor, I'm not sure if we are going to wind up in a kind of like 7 situation with Victor, where it's like, is he just going to be forever the most powerful, or he's not going to be good at all? Where I know some people might not remember, but there was a time where 7 just wasn't very good when his ult wasn't very good. But either way, he did get banned a bunch of times in Deadlock Night Shift earlier this week, so I think you can expect to see some Victor nerfs incoming whenever our next patch is. And then Mirage and Vindicta are on the bottom. Vindicta really doesn't feel like she's in as tough a spot as Mirage does. Mirage just feels really dumpstered at the moment. Not that I really play a lot of Mirage, but every time that I've seen a Mirage on my team or the enemy team, I just have not felt very concerned at all. And And that feeling is validated by his place on the win rate chart. Vindicta, though, really, I mean, she doesn't feel nearly as bad. Maybe it's just because the ult is just always going to be strong with her. But let me know if you guys think that Vindicta feels underpowered. Mirage, though, I certainly think is in the buff waiting room. And one thing now that we are, a couple months, is it been a couple months now since that Heroes update came out? But now that we're a significant chunk of time away from the 6 Heroes update, one thing I wanted to point out is that Haze and Infernus no longer have 90% pick rates, which is fantastic. It is so nice not seeing a Haze or an Infernus in every single game that I play. And it's just due to the fact that there are more heroes that more people want to play. And that's a quote-unquote problem that as more heroes are added in, that'll just sort itself out over time. That's a too small roster problem. Then, guys, we break into our tournament roundup. Could you believe that the Abrams Buff Enjoyers matchup is our least salty one of the week? And I know I say Abrams, it's your own fault. You picked Abrams as the logo. You named your team Abrahams. That's your problem. Buff Enjoyers 2-0s Abrams this week to Abrahams. That time it was my fault because I just said it. This week to defend their title. In game 1, I think has the lowest amount of kills I've seen in a night shift yet, at least that I can remember off the top. Like most high skill matches, guys, this one, it ends with a slight advantage and then that team being able to go get mid boss off that advantage. And as we've talked about a few times, it's essentially a 9v6 team fight, which is almost impossible for a high level team to lose. And then, guys, in North America, Sneaky Golems, reminder that this is a lot of the old Hydra Nation roster. They mulch the melee creeps in a 2-0 affair. We've talked about some toxicity in Europe recently, and it looks like it's bleeding over into North America. I just realized it's October, and I used a bleeding reference. Ooh! With the melee creeps, and specifically Lord NM going back and forth in the game chat with Sneaky Golems members, and giving the tried and true pause right as Patron is being killed. If you recall, Lord NM was the final member cut from Hydra Nation before their implosion, and this isn't the only time they've made it clear since their release that they are not happy with those core members. Then, guys, we got the Trolley Open, which we'll talk about next week. It's going on right now. Once you finish this video up, which honestly, guys, I'm kind of up against it. I may or may not get this video out late, so hopefully it's still going on. Maybe it went on yesterday. It's really, though, just such a amazing celebration of our shared interest in this game. It is just so cool to see so much high-level competition, and I mean, just look at the mid-boss that they got. This is just so awesome to see, and just the start of what this game is going to become. It's so fantastic, and I don't know, I feel happy that I am here for moments like this in this game's history. And then, guys, the Deathy Death Slam Europe signups are now open. The link for that is in the description. And College Deadlock is still ongoing as well, so keep up to date with their bracket and on their Twitch channel as well. The links to both of those are in the description. Then, guys, let's talk some Deadlock. Our first comment comes from D. Volante. Thank you so much for being a member, Volante. I really appreciate it. And they said, Hydra Nation disbanded? This game's competitive scene has been so rough. I hope the release of Deadlock in like a year or two makes things more stable. And yeah, I'm not gonna lie, Volante, there is a reason that the tournament roundup is usually one of our shortest sections. In the future, I really do expect the pro scene to kind of become the stuff the week in and week out Deadlock viewers really want to see, because eventually we're going to stop getting leaks at this frequency that we did this week. The game's just not going to be developed to that level, or rather need to continue to be developed at the frequency that it's at right now. And, you know, the Trolley Open is testament that there is demand for it, but consistent demand right now, it's really not there because it's just straight up difficult to keep track of anything, much less everything that's going on as it comes to the quote-unquote competitive Deadlock scene. And then on top of that, because no one signs any contracts, and I don't blame them, right? You wouldn't at this point, but no one's signing any contracts, so the roster changes. I mean, they change depending on what they had for lunch that day. The rosters for the top teams, specifically in North America, change so frequently. Then, guys, we got a comment from Strawman Studio, who has a YouTube channel as well, and they actually provided the gameplay for today, so we're a real heavy Strawman Studio episode, and you should make sure to check out their channel as well. And they said, I think a rank reset, even if it was purely a cosmetic change, was a step in the right direction. My friends and I have gotten such a massive morale boost from going from Archon to Ascendant, especially after grinding the past few months. My concern is whether or not this actually changes the matchmaking, but with how much people were clamoring for something to stop the Initiate 1 glut, this was a really fantastic change. The Trolley Open also implies we might be getting more sponsors before the game properly releases. We're still in development and the game is getting a $20,000 sponsor. Imagine how big it'll get when it finally releases. And I kind of want to attack this one in reverse because the last comment we answered, but yeah, the Trolley Open is a testament to how good this game is and how invested its community is. And that thread, it passes along through each independent TO that's making it work right now, whether that be the Death Slam folks, College Deadlock, Deadlock Core, you name it. They're doing it out of love in the game they're doing it out of love for the game and its community, and it's no doubt Deadlock is going to be huge. And yeah, I completely agree with your first sentiment. It's just a nice morale boost that we really needed after, the only retention tool this game has, the quote-unquote rank system, just punching us all in the face over and over and over again all summer. Then guys, our last comment comes from Oofer7091. With the new rank distribution, it seems like Ascendant is the new initiate in terms of climbing. I've won 8 out of 10 of my last games and haven't moved a rank, but the one lobby that has been averaged above my current rank was full of former Phantom players, while I was the only Archon 5 before the change. They basically condensed High Emissary to High Oracle into one rank, and it feels like it's going to take forever to see any change while I'm in it, lol. And this is one that I want to point out. I found it very interesting when we looked last week at how large the Ascendant versus the Eternus populations are. In Counter-Strike, at least when I played, obviously another Valve game, the Global Elite, the highest rank in the game, was a truly tiny portion of the population. Truly the Global Elite. I wonder if Valve wants Eternus to function the same way. It's truly the top 1%, the best players in the world, and being in that rank is more about the badge of honor than that rank being a proportionate functional rank in terms of how it works for the rest of the game. If I had to guess, I think that they want Ascendant to be big by design because they want that to be a massive gate to get into Eternus, because they want you to be able to say that if you are an Eternus player, you are a truly, really fucking good Deadlock player. And then guys, I know I've been slacking on the community section for a while, and I apologize, but one thing that I absolutely could not pass up pointing out this week was this fancy Drifter mod. Just an absolutely fantastic, amazing Drifter mod, which, yeah, I'm sure I'm going to start seeing in streams very, very soon. The link to download that mod is in the description. Alright, I am curious to see where the runtime on this video winds up, because I literally just passed 30 minutes of recording right now, and normally I record for less than 20 minutes, so I really appreciate you sticking with me to the end with this one, guys, and if you did make it to the end, make sure to subscribe so that next week's makes it into your feed as well, because if there's Deadlock news, this is the place to hear it, and I want to make sure that you don't miss it. So guys, I hope you have a fantastic week. Members, guys, thank you so much for being a member. It really means the world to me, and all the kind comments on last week's video really mean a lot to me as well. So guys, I hope you all have a fantastic week, and I will see you again over the course of the week at some point, and definitely next weekend. Peace. I gotta sure this up. The intro is so tight. The outro stinks. Peace.